You know what I hear all the time? Adam, once I hit a number, I'm going to be happy. Once I have $1 million, or once my mortgage is paid, once my portfolio hits that goal, then I can finally relax. But here's the thing, I've met people who have more money than they could ever spend, and they're still restless. They're anxious, or they're even really unhappy in retirement. Now, I've met others that who don't have nearly as much, but they're living this retirement with joy, purpose, and peace. So today I want to talk about something you don't hear in the financial world very often, and that's why money isn't everything. And when it comes to this retirement happiness that we all seek. Now, don't get me wrong, money matters, right? It's the foundation. But once you've got the basics covered, the real drivers of happiness really come down from somewhere else. So let's dig into what those are, how you can build a retirement that's not just financially secure, but also emotionally fulfilling. Now, let's start with the money illusion. When you've spent your entire career working, saving, and investing, it's natural to believe that money is the key to happiness in retirement. It's what society tells us. The build the biggest nest egg that you can, hit the target number, retire rich, right? But here's the catch. Happiness doesn't automatically scale with wealth. Yes, money can take away some of the stress when you don't have enough, but once you've covered your basic needs and you have breathing room for comfort, the happiness curve starts to flatten out. I once had a client tell me, Adam, I thought retirement would feel like winning the lottery, but after the first few months, it just felt normal. Now, that's the money illusion. We believe that more money will fix everything. But in reality, happiness in retirement comes from things money can't always buy. Now, what really drives happiness? So let's look at what research tells us here. The studies on retirement happiness are very clear. Beyond financial security, the biggest predictors of well being are strong social connections, a sense of purpose, and good physical and mental health. So think about it. You could have $10 million, but if you're isolated or you're struggling with health or you feel like your days have no meaning, will you really feel happy? Now, let's flip it around. You could have a modest pension, enough savings to cover your needs. And if you're surrounded by family, you're connected to community, and you're still engaged in things that you love, you're probably going to feel far richer than someone with double the money. Now, this is why I tell people, once your finances are on stable ground, the real work of retirement planning is designing your life, not just your budget. Next, let's talk about the 4 pillars. So, what are the keys to a happy retirement beyond just money? Now, I like to think about this as the 4 pillar approach. So, pillar one is about purpose. Now, in your working years, purpose is often built in. Your job gives you structure, goals, identity, and when that ends, a lot of people feel a big void. Purpose in retirement might come from volunteering, mentoring, hobbies, or even part time work. The happiest retirees that I've met all had a reason to get up in the morning. Pillar two is around relationships. Now, we are all wired for connection. Friends, family, community. These matter far more than your investment balance once your paychecks stop. Now, I've seen retirees thrive just by being more involved with their grandkids, or joining a walking group, or reconnecting with some old friends. Pillar three is around health. Now, this one's pretty obvious, but it's often overlooked. Now, you can have all the money in the world, but without health, you can't enjoy it. So, staying active, eating well, and keeping your mind sharp, these are all the types of investments that you need to make that pay bigger dividends than any stock or bond ever could. Pillar four is growth. Now, this one surprises a lot of people because retirement isn't the end of learning. The retirees that I see that are the happiest are the ones who continue to grow. They're learning new skills, they're taking courses, they're trying new hobbies, even traveling to new places. Now, growth keeps you engaged with life. So those are the 4 pillars: purpose, relationship, health, and growth. If you can build around those, you're going to be building real wealth. let me share a few stories that bring this to life. Now, I remember one client, he had more than enough to retire. His portfolio was in really great shape, but he struggled. He said, I don't know who I am without my job. He felt extremely lost, even though financially he was completely fine. Then I think of another client. She had a modest pension, she had a small RSP, and not a ton of extra savings, but her life was extremely rich. She was involved in her community. She volunteered at a local food bank. She had really close relationships with her kids and her grandkids. And she was one of the happiest retirees that I've ever met. Now, do you notice the difference? It wasn't about the size of the account. It was about the structure of their lives. So let's talk about money and meaning. So where does money fit in? Well, for all of you who know, and I say this all the time, money is just the tool. It's the foundation that allows everything else to happen. You need enough to cover your essentials, to give yourself comfort, and to allow for joy, travel, hobbies, and family. And once you've hit enough, the focus has to shift because chasing more doesn't automatically create more happiness. In fact, for a lot of retirees, the biggest barrier to happiness is not having enough, it's the fear of spending what they already have. Now, I've seen people die with large portfolios untouched, not because they couldn't spend it, but because they were too scared to. This is why retirement planning is not just about maximizing wealth, it's about creating the confidence to actually use it, to turn your savings into a life that feels rich in every sense of the word. So, retirement happiness isn't just about money. Yes, you need financial security, but once you've got that, the things that matter the most are going to be purpose, relationships, health, and growth. Now, if you build your retirement around those four pillars, you're going to be far ahead of the curve. Now, if you need a little bit of help along the way, feel free to visit us at stonecitywealth.com. I'm Adam. We'll see you in the next video.